Hey guys, Boy here, and today we're going to be doing another video. But I am very much going to say this here. Thanks for it. Yes, we went to 100. Now prepare for a 100 subscriber special, as I made a video about the 6SH116 versus the FLC. I did promise of 100 subscribers, we'll be getting an entire special for it. And yes, I'm doing the gas mask collection. Let us begin. Kicking things off, and yes, this is actually part of the whole collection review, and managed to make an entire, and also making a video chronically onto most of my masks out there. And yes, the ones in progress is the US masks. So first things we start off is the non-combatant. Yes, this is the one that I could not wear because, well, the filter is not safe to use. But this is the, well, a civilian mask for World War II. I don't have any of the World War I masks at all, and it's going to be treated like this, that I'm not going to wear it. So yes, this is the non-combatant. The next mask, which is new, or rather, mask that I did reviewed, which is the M3 diaphragm mask. Now, this one, on the other hand, that's a uncommon variant, I think, out there. Just correct me if I'm wrong. And it's not really in a good condition, as I say, because of the hose is not really good. Next mask in my collection, and the mask I'm actually going to review, which is the M3A1. This is rather more common mask. So when you see this, this is a more common World War II mask. The next one is the Mark V. Yeah, I know, I'm skipping around out there because I don't have a lot of don't have a lot of the other ones out there, but this is the MK5, or the Mark V. And also, what's so funny about it is this mask does not have the proper head harness. Instead, it came with this head harness. Did not came with that rubber, head harness that it's supposed to come with. So, a little disappointed out there for sure. Oh, it's in a different shape out there, or a different version of it, because this one's a little rounded and not like the original where it's a little blocky. So that's a little note to point out from the mask itself. Next mask out here, and I found it very interesting to look at this one. Now, when I was trying to find the tanker mask, which I still don't have that version, but I actually managed to buy another one that looks very familiar to it. This is the M24 aircraft mask. It has all the accessories, including the lenses. And this is rather more the first time I have where this has that nylon hose. Yeah, that's where the US has those hoses, with the filter and everything, and the carrier itself. Most of my masks do not have a carrier in there. And then we get to the classic of them all, and I say classic, I mean just for very common US. I called it the GP5s of US masks, which is the M17 series. Now, have the M17, and the most common ones you'll find are the M17A1s, ones with the drinking hose, drinking straw and everything. Now, this one did not came with basically did not came with the chemical hood, but the other two actually had two different chemical hoods over it. So what's interesting thing about it, I got one with the metal piece inside here. Maybe this is an early version. And then I got the one with a rubber piece on there. You can see it clear. Yep, there it is. Yeah, these two pieces out there. But I know there is, in fact, a green lenses for that, and I need to look for those so I can make a video for that. And then the next mask is the XM28E4. Now, it's actually getting a little rare to find this mask. I'm not making that up. It's getting a little rare to find, but the funny part about it is its carrier. And yes, I say carrier itself, because look, how do you fit there? You're supposed to push this inside there. Like, I'm not going to do it in this one, but I will do it in my review, where you're supposed to basically, it's like the smallest carrier out there. And you're supposed to push in on there like an inverted, like a taco shape. So that's rather interesting thing about it. And like most of them actually had their little plastic piece broke in there. And that's actually rare to find the one without it broken. So unfortunately mine is broken, or the plastic piece inside of it. So let's get on to the next one. Which, this one, on the other hand, is a Scott-O-Ramic. And yes, there is a little tag in there, and I will, let me go bring it up here. Yes, it's an actual name of it. Here it is, with the tag and everything. Scott-O-Ramic. And yes, this is basically the thing itself. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any of the accessories, or even including the hose and the whole harness and everything, because this is an SCBA mask, so, and this is for firefighters, so that's another thing about that. I don't have any of the accessories for this guy. But if I make a review for it, I'll make sure to get... There's also one with the voice diaphragm, so let's get on to the next one. Okay. Yes, the MCUs. Now, I call these as the Macbeth of masks. Why mask? Because mine's always have a problem with it. Like, this one, right size for my head out there. But the problem is, the mask is, you can't see through it. Even the lenses is a problem too, because it's all scratched up. This one, you can see through it, but the problem is, it's too big for my head. Yeah, too big. Oh, this one did not came with the carrier too, or actually, I did got this, and it did came with a carrier, and I used it for this guy. And the next one is this one here. This is the Millennium. Now, when I get the two Advantage 1000 and one in the black and the beige color, that's pretty rare to come by, I will make a video over that. So just keep aware of that and expect for a delay of those. So the next one is the M40A1, and it's also one with the, not with the stomped hood, or the one that was having a one-piece chemical hood with this secondary skin sewn on there, but it's the one that was the later variant before it got replaced by another mask that I will show you. This one, that one I actually got this like first try, and I found it at a surplus store that was near to me, and it was, well, technically, basically in Emporia to be exact. So, which it's no longer exists anymore. Which unfortunately, that's kind of sucks for me. And I got this alongside with another mask, like basically 4 years. Actually, this one's from 2015, and the next one, and yes, I'll bring up the next one. Oh, this one came with all the pieces in there, so that one's pretty nice to see that one. The next one, and yes, the M50. Now, the M50, which it's pretty interesting about it. I got this in 2019 out there for $125. The M40 costs like $80 for me, but this one's like $125. And I just know this mask is going to be hard to find, so I just picked that up and bought that. Rather interesting thing about this one, and yes, and this actually is the reason why, kind of gave me a motivation of buying this one's not bad out there, right next to another one. It actually makes me like having a reason to buy another particular mask, and that was right after, like, as a birthday present. So, yeah. A lot of these are on eBay. It costs like $600 or $120 or $250 to $600. So, lucky or not lucky, comment down below if you got yours in a much more reasonable price. Yeah, I know someone's gonna say about why I didn't like this whole entire area, which that's understandable. I mean, it is basically makes it low profile, unlike this one, where it makes it less low profile. So, I mean, good arguments, or actually good points out there. Good points about it. So, that mask, it's not bad too out there. Right next to my other one that I always and this is one of my more expensive masks that I bought. And yes, the M53 with the voice BPU, the chemical hood. Yes, it came with all the parts. So I'm planning on finding the VREU lever piece for this guy. And also going to be getting the more lenses for this thing. Now, when I'm actually going to do all of my M50 reviews, I'm going to make sure to buy the C50, the PC50, and all the accessories for it, including the VPU piece that it did not came with. This one, on the other hand, that one's my more expensive piece out there. So, yeah, it cost me around about $400. Yeah, $450. And luckily got with the voice diaphragm piece, so that's quite a bit of a cool thing. Now, let's get to the next country. Our second country we're going to go to is the UK, or United Kingdom. Now, funny part about it, this one's pretty small, so like the other ones, they're all going to be small. Unlike a particular country we're going to get to. Don't worry, we're going to get to those. So, first off, we got the S10. Now, this one is my second British gas mask. And, now, funny part about this one, that the British or the S10 one I have, yep, it's a pretty large size, and it was in really bad shape. But with that Israel pieces that I've used to basically fix this mask. And, yes, this one's a size 3. And another thing that I want to point out here, and from my S10 version, this one is a little bit dark blue, and it's because it's basically discolored. So that's the reason why. And these things are a little hard to find for back at the time when I got it in 2018. In the US, to be exact. So, correct me if I'm wrong, if they're common. Who knows? And my second one, and my more, the first British mask, funny part, is the FM12. Yes, this guy is, actually my first, basically my first modern mask I got. Yeah. And I was really wanted a British gas mask, and this one's no exception. They can cost up to like $200 nowadays, but one I got was $65. With the mesh netting and everything. Yeah, it did not came with a carrier, so I will find a carriers and make some videos over those. And also having a DPM camo and all the, British gear out there. So let's get to the next country. Now we're heading to the third part and the second part of Europe, Spanish or Spain. We have is the Spanish Mascara Artillery Antigas. Now this one is actually kind of, I know the people saying like it's very common of all things. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong of all things. Like only seen like a couple of them like a couple times out there, and this one's rather rare. And the most common name you'll find here from a lot of people is called CMP. Why, may I ask, of CMP? Yeah, it's really chipped off. The paint's chipped off, unfortunately. Is this one. Yes, the reason why they're called CMP is because of the filter on top of it. Let me focus on that. Yep, there it is. Yeah, it has CMP on there, so that's kind of the reason why. And this one's a, rather the first mask that was pretty old, so rather my more oldest mask out there. Let's get to a next country. Our next Europe country, France. And yes, more very famous by their more biggest power moves is using a white flag of defeat. Yes, and lots of revolutionaries have been being protesting a lot of times. And yeah, that's joking aside on France. And surprisingly, there's a lot of masks, like the British and the US and another particular country, Germany, which that one has a lot of masks out there. And of course, Russia, too, which, of course, Russia's have a lot of them. But let's get it to where, surprisingly, I only have 4 of them, so here you go. So, first off, and one I have for the first time, actually, the first mask I got for France, which is this guy. Yes, the C-38. Now, the C-38 is a civilian model of it. Well, you guessed it. Now, this mask is rather interesting for me, is not only for the canister it came with, which it did came with a canister, which is not really pretty rusted out there, is this one here, is the 42 millimeter thread out there. Yeah, kind of weird out there. And this is my, I think, second World War II mask, unlike the Spanish mask, because the Spanish mask was in the Spanish Civil War. I mean, this is basically, the Spanish Civil War is basically multiplayer beta for World War II. Changed my mind. So, yeah. This one, on the other hand, has, not really good with this lens because of there's some cracks underneath that. So, that's... But, let's get to our next one. And rather more common one, unlike the another 2 that we're going to get to, is the French ANP-M51. Yeah, this one is rather more interesting because there's a lot of variants of this thing, and this can actually be worked on a Belgium mask too, because surprisingly, Belgium version of this one has, they decided to put like a neck strap for it, like a big hole, like piece of neck strap on there, and that's where you can definitely get from 2 variants of it. Oh, without that, that's a French mask. Meal for with the string on there, with the big old neck strap on there, that's Belgium. Now, it's interesting that I got the filter first and then the mask itself. Yeah, there's really interesting. Yeah, I didn't know the filter came straight from hell. Straight from the pits of hell, delivered by Satan himself. 666. Oh, man. Yeah, that's too spooky for me for that one. Yeah, that could have been great for a Halloween special, but who cares? I mean, yeah, that's pretty funny. I got that filter from my rather children's gas mask, and it was a rather more smaller size, and we're gonna get to that mask when we get to, well, basically the Soviet Union or the Eastern Europe. And then I got the mask with the filter that has the M40, or rather green US filter, unlike the Russians out there, because the Russians are pretty controversial with their filters. But don't worry, that filter contains chromium. This one contains, basically asbestos in there, so I don't recommend using that filter out there. You can use the other filters out there, not this. But let's get to our next one. And the two of them, which it's kind of both noticeable by the two colors. Yep, the ANP-VPF ones. Now, this can actually be confused as MP5s, which you'll find a lot of listings, and a lot of when you go to listings online, you'll find these and label them as, well, basically Polish MP5s, which, as you all know, I made a video surrounding those two comparisons. Now, I got this one in black just for that whole comparison video, and I finally got this one right next to when I got the British helmet out there. I was joking aside that this is just basically is a tan color variant, but kind of right on that one, right on the nose on there. So, yeah. So, let's get on to our next country. Right next to France, and that's where the Germans decided to move around with their smart strategy to basically conquer French in the quite hilarious Marginate Line, is Belgium. Yes. Yeah, it's only have one mask. If you really count the ANP-M51 as a Belgian mask, as I mentioned in my France, which it's basically very similar to it. So yeah, this is what I actually liked about this thing, which is the entirety of having the filter thread you can switch the threads out there. As I mentioned in my review, rather unique out there. And yes, this is the BEM4GP. Yeah, and if you really want me to talk about the full name, revert to my review, and that's what you got from there. It's the most complicated name that I had to write it on the paper out there, I kid you not. So, yeah, that's pretty an interesting piece out there. Let's get to our next country. Our next country is Swiss, and let's kick things off like this one. This is the SM67. This one's a little more rare, on the rare side. I got this from Mickey's Surplus of all places, and it's kind of interesting thing about it actually came with the right carrier and the filter it came with, which I'm going to refuse to open the bag for that one. But, yeah, interesting piece about that one. And let's get it to our next one, and rather more common, well, a little common, rather more uncommon part, the SM74. Now, yeah, it does look very familiar to the SM67, and some people will call this as the SM67. The SM67 is this one here. So, yeah. Just be careful on which Swiss version of this one. This one's a very common Swiss mask, so I do recommend having that one. And yes, it did came with the filter, and it actually came with the filter case out there. Let me go bring it up. Here's the case itself. Yeah, this one's sealed. The other one. And yeah, that's what it's supposed... Wait a minute. That's impossible. But yes, here's the That's weird. I don't know what's inside of this. Yeah, I don't know what about this one. Yeah. Some say this is a filter for the Swiss out there. I think that's a German filter. I don't know about that one. Yeah. I'm gonna correct that one out there, because judging by the filter itself, it's a little bigger than this guy, so yeah, just don't be surprised that this one is not a Swiss filter. I don't know. Who knows? Anyone can guess this one? Let me know about this. I know it's a filter, so I'm not gonna... I don't know, who knows. But let's get to our next country. Well, batter cook goes bratwurst. We're now in Germany. Yes, Germany. And our next one, oh look, it's the M65, and it actually came with the canister it came with. Now, the funny part about this one that I have, there is another variant, which is the Z50 or Z65, where down say have bigger holes. Meanwhile, the one I have is the M65, where it has much more smaller holes. Yeah, unfortunately, there was actually a lot of German masks, and unfortunately, I only have one. So, if I could find more of them, yeah, that would be. There's also extra lenses for this thing, so that's an interesting thing about this one. Now, let's get to our next country. And our next country is Poland. Yes, Poland. Where you basically know a particular song that I like. Just basically arrived on there, like the Wing Hussars they are. And yes, we got the first off is the MUA, possibly the first Polish mask I own. Now, it's different that it actually has a voice diaphragm out there, and I'm not gonna mention the actual name of it. If you want that, revert to my review. Yeah, they have the most complicated name out there, but for the sake of having to say the name of it, yeah, it's the SZMKF variant. Now, the one I got came with the hose out there. Got it for $20 out there, yeah. Most of them I got like for $5, like the Israel ones. And yeah, possibly the first one out there. Now let's get to the next one, which is the MC1. It's actually the newer variant of it. Now, I don't have the beige color, which, don't worry, like the MUA, I've actually put these two on the back burner. When I actually get more of these guys, I know that I'm going to be getting, actually doing reviews for these guys. Now, it did came with the filter it came with, but I'm not going to open that. And yes, just like the GB5 filters, have a pretty bad filter. As I say, pretty bad, I mean they contain asbestos. So yes, that's a Polish MC1. Our next one, and yes, our two big guys, the Polish MP4s. We got the one with basically the normal one, the MP4, and the one with the MP4B. These are actually getting harder to find. Well, technically, this one's getting a little more harder to find. Unlike our next one, right after these big bad boys. Yeah, they're pretty heavy, for sure, about it. And it is a copy of the M17 clones. And our next, and certainly the last one, the MP5. And I find a funny comment when I made the review of the MP4, where he says, like, this is an ANP-VPF one. I kid you not. Or BPF2, whatever it is. The reason why I say this is that's kind of not correct. little bit not correct on this one. Because when I got my MP5, it actually has the mask pull one, which that is an indication that that is a MP5. I know I sound a little, a little bit condescending out there, but you can definitely know the clear dead giveaway out there. Yeah, the one I have on my MP5 did not have the mask pull link on there, right on there. So now let's get to our next country. Our next country is Czechoslovakia, or Czech Republic. Our first off is the CM3. Now, this one, basically noticeable that there's a Polish copy of it, which, yeah, if you saw my Polish one, you know that is a copy of this particular guy. Now, when I get the other variant of the Polish mask, I'll make a full-blown of a comparison between these guys in that beige color. Our next mask is the CM4. Now, I made the Czechoslovakian reviews for that one, so yeah, this one's another variant of it. Got that for around, a lot of them are bought like pretty decent prices out there. So this one's a CM4. Unfortunately, it didn't came with the proper carrier. And our next and finally, oh yes, the M10s and the M10Ms. Now, funny part about these are like the third. This guy is my third gas mask tone, unlike a particular Russian and an Israeli one. But yes, I got both, and I can definitely know that there's going to be a Noah's Ark joke here, that 2 of each. Yeah, like Noah's Ark out there. I would find it surprising if I find 2 of each mask and actually put them in my collection. But that kind of broke the purpose because, well, 3 M17s. And this is a rather more common, M17 clone. Unlike the Polish MP4 and the Belgian one. So, yes. Yep, that's how much, Unfortunately, the sad part about it, I don't have the OM90, which I know a lot of people, or rather, heard in the comment section that want me to review that. Unfortunately, if I find the OM90, well, prepare for a review of that one. So, let's get her to our next country. Our next country is Hungary. Oh yes, from pro-Germany to, well, Eastern Europe. Our first one is the 75M. Now, this one's not a World War II mask, I kid you not. But it has the same material as like World War II. But it is a Cold War mask out there, I kid you not. And right next to our other guy is the 70M. Yeah, I tried finding a PMG. Unfortunately, the 70M is a rather more common mask, and I'm going to point this out, and this is kind of true. The black PMGs and the 71M that I've mentioned in my video, they're not real. Someone painted over it, so my apologies towards that. But kind of interesting piece up there. I got that with a Finnish or Swedish carrier alongside with that, so possibly the first Hungarian mask. Now let's get to our next country. Our next country is Romania. Yes, we're now dealing with the vampires themselves, Romania, or and I actually kid you not, and I have it on a poster alongside with the Warsaw Pact loadouts, and it's actually a Romania with rum instead of Romanian. And I have is the M74, to be exact. Yeah, M74. There's actually another variant of this one, which is the one with the drinking straw. And there's also one with the communication, and then another one with a chemical hood piece, where it's actually a helmet style piece. This one's a rather more common one. Now, this is actually a rather newer country mask that I did got when I went to the surplus store. Yes, at Mickey's Surplus. Yep, you got now. Unfortunately, mine does not have another plastic piece, but it did come with a filter. Yeah, it does look like a rather more of a Romanian copy of the the M65, the Draeger M65. Now let's get to our next country. Our next country is Yugoslavia, and yes, we forgot Serbia. Oh, I should have known. Now let's get to our rather more well-known mask for Yugos or Serbians is the M1s, and yes, well, I'm actually yes, these two, or rather three of them, if I recall here. Why I say recall three. Well, let me. Now, I'm going to correct on this one. There's a 50% chance that your mask will be good or, well, will be bad. And, oh, believe me, I got, these are very tamed in comparison to this next one. Is the M1, but the problem about this M1, basically being covered in dust, it's melted. Yeah. Yeah, the joke of Yugoslavians can melt that easily. Now, there's a reason, because of the material they used on the Yugo M1, this thing really has a bad reputation of, well, melting. Pretty much have a bad reputation on melting out there. Basically being on the sunlight, of all places. And, yep, with the pieces all melted. And I've actually kept this contained in this bag, so I won't have all the melted, basically turn into green sludge on them too. Yeah. And then we got our civilian variant. Yes, the MC1. This one's actually quite luckily in good shape out there. So, that's quite nice seeing that. And our next two is the Serbian M2s. Now, unfortunately, yes, if you actually don't know the story about... Now, the reason why I bought another one of these guys is because of this piece broke. So, that makes it just now useless. Well, barely useless. If you actually like it, basically being careful out there. These are really, this particular country itself out here is quite interesting by it. Yeah. And I've pretty much screwed that up because that thing broke, so it's now just another Yugo M, or another... It's unlike the Yugo M1s, where these are actually good in shape and actually good in condition, unlike it being, well, melting all the time. So, let's get to our next country. Our next country is Russia, and yes, by the roughest of them all, yes, well known for their AK-47s and their vodkas, and their ushankas. Now let's get to our first one, which are the which is the PDF, and yes, I say PDF, that's the actual name of the mask. I got the normal size out there, normal size 4, and then the other one is the SH, or the very small variant. Now, the difference onto these, and that's where I got the French ANP-51 filter from this one at a pretty decent price up there. Yes, these two are children's gas mask, and possibly the first children's gas mask I own. Yeah, they all dangling down by their filters. Unfortunately, I don't have the carrier for it, so wish me luck if I can find the carrier for this one. Our next masks, and yes, our next ones are the most common of them all. The GP5s, the SHM62Us, and the SHMPs. Now, the difference onto these guys is basically is the helmet style out there. Rather, the first gas mask, and yes, the first gas mask I own. That was from 2011, to be exact, from Seattle, when I was on a vacation cruise, and I just went to a surplus store, and I found one of these guys at my correct size. And the SHMP, this is just a black variant out there. Now, the most common one you'll find is, this is a military one, which is not really true out there. Not true to it. So, yeah. And it's not a bad mask, but what's so bad about it are the filters themselves. Yes, the filters contain asbestos, and the most controversial topic out there. You know, just like politics and religion. These are very controversial like them. Our next mask is the MM1. Yeah, this one here. Now, I call this basically the PMG2 or the GP6 or the GP5M, but it's just that with a head harness. Changed my mind over it. Yeah, it did not came with other accessories out there. But that's unfortunate about it. Our next one is the SHMS. Now, the one I got when I got the mask itself, it came with the Swiss bag, and the filter was an Israel 4A1 filter. So I decided to get basically the hose in the filter from my SHMP, which that was later on. Yeah, it's a little crooked out there, and the funny part about this, and I actually am not getting to there, I got this mask on, yes, you heard right, April 20th. And what's April 20th? And this was in 2015, where the MLG memes all came. And, yeah, 420, Illuminati confirmed out there. Ooh, so spooky, because it's a shape of a triangle. And I got that because just for the shits and giggles out there. Because it just looks remember of a triangle. Yeah, 3 sides out there. Ooh, spooky Illuminatis in Russia confirmed. And then we got to the SHMBs, and these are actually basically the copy, basically the Russian copy of the US M17. And this actually is a pretty easy one to put your filters in easily, because of the rubber is rather not have to be pretty hard to put on the filters. And yes, I'm gonna say it here, cheek filters are really hard to put on, or a pain in my neck out there. And if you saw my videos out there, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, got these two both in gray and black. Unfortunately, this did not came with the bag for it. I'll find one. So, also, funny part about this one, just like the SHMS here, I got not only I got these two during my tax return, but they've been used by the East Germans. Technically, because of the shape out there, looks more squared than this one out there. And they can actually have their own carrier over there. So if I find a East German variant or East German carrier, I'll put this thing in there. And I also have things like the M10s for the East Germans too. So, and our next one is the GP7V. Now, GP7Vs have the one with the drinking straw out there. Now, if I find another GP7, the one without it, I'll basically do a re-review of this thing, which is basically a civilian version of a particular mask that I'll bring it up here. Our next one is the GP, or the PMK, technically the PMK2 and the PMK3. Now, the PMK2, that one's an easy mask to get, but if I find both PMG variants, the one with the early black lens and eyepieces, and the more common silver eyepieces, I'll do a review of the PMK series. Well, to be exact, I don't have the PMK 4 or 5, but I'll make sure to review those too. And the PMK... Oh, crap. Yeah, our last Russian piece is the PMK3. Now, this one's the one I'm trying to get for my Russian loadout, and I found this for $60, and I got it luckily. Before I watched Cats 2019. I got this mask before I had to basically have to go through the pain and suffering of Cats 2019. Yeah. I'd really wish I could wear this thing so I could basically get rid of that radiation, that nightmare that was the body horror of that movie. But yes, when I get to the PMK1 by those two variants out there and the GP7, I'll do a review on the GP7 and this one a proper review. So let's get to our next country. Our next country is Sweden, and our only one we have, before they say how dare you at me, is the Forshida A4. Now, this is a civilian variant out there without the drinking straw to it. Now, if I find a drinking straw variant, the military variant, I'll make a review for that guy. Next country. Our next country, and yes, to quote from Patrick from SpongeBob SquarePants, Finland. Our first up is the M61. Now, there's actually 3 variants of this guy. Now, when I actually get all 2 variants, I'll actually make a full review of that. Basically, a re-review for that guy. Our next mask is the M95. Now, it actually came with the canteen included. Yeah. Now, when I get the camelback, and there's actually an actual S variant out there, kind of rare to come by, but when I find the adapter piece for the camelback piece, I'll make that video too. Alongside with its other cousin, the M110, as many people calls it as the Pro Mask. Now, this one I actually got that quite luckily for $80, alongside with the parts of MCU pieces with its own carrier. Well, rather the MCU carrier. Now let's get to our next country. Our next country, and yes, this is way before, and I need to do this right before Winnie the Pooh starts giving me a jump scare and telling me about my social credit score going lower. And also unleashing the Walk and John Cena at me. China. And yes, only one. The Type 65. Now, this is a rather... Now, yeah, I'm you know, when I get another one of these, I will do that whole cheek filter video over that. But yeah. This is the Chinese version of the M17, or Chinese clone of the M17. Now let's get to our last country. Certainly last and not least, Israel. Now, let's get on to our, basically our last ones. Now, of course, I have the Model 4s. Now, this basically is a copy of the German Simplex mask, a quite rare mask. Unfortunately, I don't have a Simplex mask, unfortunately. But, yeah. Now, I got this for $20, and the piece was broken off, unfortunately. But it had all the pieces in the kit. Meanwhile, I got this for $5, which the one that holds the mask and this one right here broke. Well, technically that one melted, and the piece that was supposed to hold the mask in there broke. But this one's actually quite nice in condition. I got that for, I kid you not, $5. My more cheapest mask out there. And our next masks are the Israel 4A1s. Yes. Now, I only have this one does have the elastic head harness. Unfortunately, it does not have the seal around the mask. Meanwhile, the other variant, the one I have a seal around that. And yes, this is the second mask I own before I begin collecting gas masks. Well, the M10 was basically where I actually begin collecting them. And our next mask, and the last one, is the M15. Yes, this little bad boy. Now, this mask is quite rather interesting out there. It actually came with a canteen in its own cover out there. Now, if I can find the little blower piece and more variants of this thing, I'll make sure to do a re-review of that. Okay. That wraps up my entire 100 subscriber special. Now, plans for 2022 to be exact. Maybe on summertime I'll do a lot of the knife reviews and do a little Halloween special. And of course, expect for a haul video for the beginning part of 2021. I'm Boy, and I'm signing out. I hope you have a great day.